found out I can't unmute you.
Oh,
I was clicking here trying to unmute you.
for you.
Okay.
Let me freestyling back here, y'all. Chat already know what's up, bro. Right,
so
chat?
that same video we played before the podcast, and Goofy is a co-host of the podcast. And when we do it, I can see all of your little cameras down here. So even though the video is up, and I was watching him freestyle, and he does it every show. And I threatened to like unmute him so I can hear it because I want to hear it. And I was sitting here trying to unclick it so I could hear him, but I couldn't even unmute you.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
That's dope.
I gotta fix that. Okay, I gotta figure out how to fix that.
I'll drop an album one day. You'll hear all of them, bro. I got
the
mixtape, Party Chat Podcast mixtape soundtrack.
The mix.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
We coming out with it. Yeah, you know.
Nice.
It would be cool tracks, you know. I gotta hear what it because you got a bop to it, you know, and I want to hear what
you can see it, huh? You can feel the energy.
I see it. I'm like, okay, you know, Goofy's chat because I know y'all are seeing this too. Write down what he said. Send it my way so I can see. You know, I feel left out. I feel left out.
That'd be a dope track with both of y'all. Because Christine, I didn't know you can sing. You can really sing.
Can I?
You can really.
Can you?
You can really sing.
I'm gonna have her like Lauren Hill on the track, bro.
bro, she can really sing. I was like surprised. Yeah.
As a punishment on my Twitch, I think it's kind of a punishment, but something that they can redeem with their channel points is have me sing for 60 seconds. And the night he's talking about, my chat was relentless and redeemed it like 6 or 7
and you was going crazy.
Oh.
He's going crazy.
I gotta hear it. Where the clip at?
Listen, I ain't going to my own horn, but I released a song, you know. You got released a song. Yeah. It's called Imposter. Let me see if any of my mods are in here that can drop the link, you know.
Uh-oh.
We could hit me up about it later. I'm not going to Google the link now to send it to y'all, but you could it's on the channel. It's on my gaming channel, so you guys can see it there. Or you can hear it on Spotify. It's there on Spotify as well, wherever you want to listen to it. But yes, that is not why we joined today.
Yeah, that is not why we joined.
Right.
Serious.
Right. Okay. All right. So, hello. Happy Friday, June 9th.
Like he's doing this moment.
Right.
10 out of 10 podcast. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm managing. Go ahead.
We're live in a lot of different places. This is part 2 of the mental health awareness conversation. Part 1, we had a great panel of a lot of content creators that we were talking to in regards to mental health and how being a content creator affects your mental health and how mental health affects you being a creator or a content creator. And I really wanted to have a second one since we weren't able to get Lainey on the last one. I'm like, I have to get Lainey on this time. And then Amens was like down to do it. Goofy was down to do it. So I'm like, we can have like a part 2 of this and have some similar questions like I did in the first one, but then we have some new questions, and then there's different perspectives and I'll have each of you guys, introduce yourself, but we have wonderful creators. Make sure you guys check out the links down in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. But we have Lainey Love, Goofy Wise, and Dragon Amen. So Lainey, go ahead and take it away. Who are you and what do you do?
Hi, my name is Lainey Love. I am a content creator here on Twitch and do some stuff on YouTube, but more importantly, outside of any content creation, I'm actually a licensed professional counselor. I have a master's in clinical psychology, and I have been officially licensed for about almost 4 years now. Yeah.
Wonderful. And sorry, Goofy.
What's up, y'all? I am Goofy Wise, full-time content creator, meme lord, TikToker, variety streamer here on Twitch. I'm actually live right now. Whoa, crazy, right? And I do variety streaming, and I also talk about, sometimes I talk about mental health. I'm a very vulnerable person. I talk about, toxic masculinity and vulnerability and, just showing up as your authentic self, regardless of those, archetypes that society likes to put on us. So, yeah.
Mindful Mondays.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In the background, my guided angel, Mindful Mondays.
Yeah. Like, don't forget to tell them when to see it and to come to it,
Yeah, we do it every Monday. So.
What's up, everybody? My name is Amens. I do anime reactions on YouTube under Double Dragon Bros with my brother Viking. And I'm also a variety streamer on Twitch. I'm also a husband. I am a dog dad. And I also work in the IT field as my full-time career. So it's a little bit about me. Amen.
We're all like jack of all trades here.
You
And
know, you gotta. I
yeah,
mean, this economy, you gotta have one foot in
Okay.
every door. You know what I'm saying?
All the
right.
hats.
Like an
Look.
octopus
Yeah.
in this motherfucker. You gotta be here, there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I want to start off with one of my first questions. In chat for anybody watching the streams on all of the different places that we are streaming right now. In the chat, use hashtag Q&A and put your questions in there. We could pop them up on the screen. While you guys get your questions ready, we'll go ahead and start off with one of my questions, which is for each of you guys. And I know it might be a duh for you, Lainey Love, right? This is going to be a duh question, but I still want to propose this question to you and everybody else on the panel today. How important is mental health to you? And Lainey, you could start, and then Goofy with T'Challa and
Whoa. Hold up. His name is Teddy. All right, this is Teddy.
Teddy. This is Teddy.
Yeah,
Where?
yeah.
Oh, that's
T'Challa's in there. He's a big ass motherfucker. You can't sit on my lap. So.
he got big already. I thought he was a
Got the
puppy.
No, he
dogs.
big as hell now. He 80 pounds almost.
I don't know if you're mine now.
You only got him yesterday. Like it was
Bro,
like
I'm saying.
yesterday
I'm
where you were
saying.
like, got a
what
new
kind-
dog.
This one's a Maltipoo, and other one's a Staffordshire Terrier, German Shepherd, Border Collie.
Oh, that's why it's big.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, I'm about to bring my dog down.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm saying.
You guys should. I don't have a dog, but this would be cute.
It's a great. Yeah. It's pertinent to the
Um,
question. He's in my emotional support animal.
Got
There
you.
you go. There you go. I think mental health is extremely important to the point where I made in my career because I feel like we don't talk about it enough. It's not, nowadays, like, people are more likely to be like, I have depression, I have anxiety, right? But, even 5 years ago, people weren't really talking about it in depth how they were now. And, even then, there's a lot of, misinformation about what certain things are. So I think it's important that when you do have an idea of what something is, make sure you do your research on it. Mental health is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Goofy, what about you? How important is mental health to you?
I mean, it's everything, right? It's an important thing to be concerned about. So it's a priority in my everyday. I try to wake up early and just take care of myself first, and I have self-care routines and shit like that. So it's very important to me.
Do you mind me asking, since you mentioned that, what is your, if you don't mind sharing, what
For
is
sure.
your self-care routine that you?
I bask under a Malaysian waterfall for 3 hours and light incense.
Is that code for a shower, a 3-hour shower?
Nah, but manifestation. I'm just like imagining. No, so with my I mean, I can get you real specific. I can get you down to. I don't even like to call it routines really at home. I was lying to y'all. I don't call it routine. I call it rituals because it can change every day depending on what I need and how I need it. You know what I'm saying? So like, what that might look like for me is waking up, no phone. That's a big one. No phone. Getting up, working out, journaling, meditating. I try to throw in some breath work in there sometimes. And it's usually like a mix, a smorgasbord of any of these activities. Not all of them at the same time because it can be a lot. And yoga as well, after a nice hot shower too. I can do cold showers as well. So that helps.
Cold shower.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And amen. How important is mental health to you?
Mental health is super important to me. I think I want to say the past year or two, it became like very important. Because growing up, I'm from Chicago, and a lot of stuff that I dealt with, I just got used to. And it wasn't until I left Chicago that I realized like I wasn't supposed to be cool with those things, And once I started thinking about that, and I started realizing like maybe I'm not as like, I mean, I need some help, and I started learning more about just mental health and stuff like that, and seeing how important it was. And I was like, yeah, I feel like everybody need this. It's very helpful. Just like Goofy said, just waking up, doing morning routines. I have like a little daily declarations of faith and stuff that I just kind of read and spend time with myself in the mornings and stuff like that, and let that set the tone for the rest of the day, and that helps me grounds you. So yeah, it's very important, super important.
I think that a couple of things that you said that are really great was that realization,
Hmm.
like maybe that wasn't okay. I think a lot
Yeah.
of us, we normalize the struggle and we normalize struggling mentally.
Yeah.
And I think it starts, and I mean, Lainey, you can jump in here, but I
Mm.
do think it starts off as a like survival technique, like to just kind of survive your environment. But then you get to a point where you're either out of that environment or it hits you like, okay, this this isn't
Yeah.
okay. It's not okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I always, whenever I'm talking to my clients in terms of where, like you said, it's a survival mechanism, right? So you go through everything and you don't have the luxury to feel anything because, if you do, that's when you break down. So what we
Mm.
end up doing is we end up stuffing it, a lot of it, and just going,
Yeah.
nope, and we shove it down. But the problem is that no matter how much you push it down, it's going to come up somewhere else. So
Yeah.
it's going to show up
Hmm.
in some other facet of your life too.
Yeah.
Man.
It
No.
does. It sucks, and it's kind of sad.
Mm.
But I do feel like it's great that you've had the realization. I think it's worse when you're in a place where you don't have that realization and you don't understand, at least to
Yeah.
some degree,
Yeah.
and then are kind of stuck in a space where now it's like there's that confusion. Like, what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I
Mhm.
was glad that you was doing like something like this, just kind of bring awareness to it. Because I think, growing up, we didn't have nobody to in school. They didn't talk about, mental health. It's just like under the radar type of thing that nobody talks about, but are all super affected by it. And so doing stuff like this and bringing awareness to it is just gonna just keep helping people. So that's why I was like, yo, I'm down.
I'm not gonna lie. It was something that I was contemplating doing this year because I know I had done something like this last year, but it was through Twitter Spaces, and I was like, kind of toying with like, do I want to do it again this year? Do I want to like it? Does it really matter if I do it? It was
Mm,
like the question that I had, and then I had said this in like the part one of this, but like it was like a moment where it wasn't just about this, but it was like, does it really matter if I keep doing the things that I'm doing outside of my regular content, like outside of making my regular reacts and stuff like that, like doing collabs and collaborative things and whatnot. And I was like, does it really matter? And out of nowhere, people that don't talk to me just DM'd me and were like, hey,
Mm.
and mind you, this isn't a question I put on social media. I was just asking myself and like, God, like, does it really matter? And
yeah,
then out of nowhere, people who don't talk to me reached out to me and they were like, hey, I see what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing is great for the community and for. So then I was like, okay, that's confirmation. And so I
yeah,
was like,
Mm.
Lainey,
yeah,
let's do it again.
Mm.
yeah,
Um, so I'm grateful for you guys for being open and having this conversation. I know like Lainey, me and you did this like, last year. So I know like
Mm.
you're open to it. And then Goofy, I knew you had like an openness to it because you do mindful Mondays. And I've seen some of the conversations you've had. So I was surprised, Amens, when you were like, hey, I want to be a part of it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm down. Whoever wants to be a part of this as a content creator and share their stories and open up in that way. I think what you guys say here has such a great impact on
yeah.
a lot of other people.
I think too that the anime reactions they kind of changed my outlook on I guess what I was doing it for because I didn't think people would like get anything like deep out of it, just like a laugh or something like that. But I started getting a lot of messages from people like some people was in the hospital, some people
Mm.
were just sick,
Mm,
going through just tough times. And was just like, hey man, those videos, it's really brightened my day. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, keep doing what you're doing. I'm just like, videos is helping people like this. Like I wasn't expecting it. And it just kind of just shifted my mindset like to more than a passion, just it's just helping the world, just in a
mhm,
different space and stuff like that. So yeah,
mhm. So
that's
that
Mm.
that brings me to another question. You just shared your insight from it. So this is for Lainey and Goofy Wise, and then Lainey, you have an added like you have two seats that you sit in, like as a
Yeah.
therapist and then as a content creator. But like when you guys get those comments or those tweets or those DMs kind of talking about how your content helps other people that are going through hard times. How do you guys take that or deal with that? Goofy, we'll start with you, and then Lainey will jump to you about that.
So how we deal with hard times?
Well, no, how do like you deal with or how are you affected by comments about how your content affects somebody else's mental health? Like Amens was
Mm,
saying how it was helping people go through
yeah.
rough times and stuff like that.
Yeah, as soon as I actually just had a meeting with my therapist the other day, and we were talking about purpose. And I think sometimes as content creators, we can we can kind of forget our impact on people and the position we sit in to be able to influence and help other people impact their lives on a day-to-day basis. And we were talking about how, sometimes I talk about mental health, sometimes I talk about, whatever, but my whole goal is to either make someone laugh or make them feel inspired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've had countless messages of people say like, "Oh, this really helped me. Thank you so much for talking about this," or whatever. And it's just like, I think sometimes I personally take it for granted a little bit and not really think about how valuable that is. That's kind of why I got into content creation in the first place, because I wanted to be that light in someone else's life that may be in a dark time, and I've been in that dark time, and I had my escapes for gaming, anime, and etc. You know what I mean? So yeah
Nice.
That's really cool. And what about you, Lainey?
I think it's like a double-edged sword for me, just because of my profession. So like, I appreciate any kind of comments, because my community is called the Love Boat. So we're all about love. We don't spread hate, anything like that, even when I'm going against other content creators or something like that. And my main purpose in even making content creation was that as a Black woman, because I'm walking in certain spaces, I wasn't welcome. Or it was, always like a catch-22, something always felt off, even if I was there for like a year or so, something always came up. And so I was like, well, if these people can have communities and, not respect them, at least I can make a safe space for the people, and where people don't feel like they have to put on airs and, do other things. So you can just come in and be yourself. And I truly have the most genuine community. So I know that when they say things to each other and they say things, about being in our space, it means a lot, because it means that my goal was complete. But whenever anybody says, this really got me through, this stream got me through, that's the goal. So it just feels something that all good for you.
Yeah, something that Goofy Wise said, like a lot of the times we forget about how we impact people. Like we don't like I do feel like I think a lot of people might start off like you did, Amens, where they don't realize it. I think it's cool and interesting that Goofy Wise was like, I want to be that,
Yeah.
I think that that's like that's a stoic mindset to be like, hey, I want to be a light for other people. For me, it was like something where it did like the impact to that degree, because it was more so when it came in the realm of, because I had a lot of reasons why I started my channel, but or while me and my husband started our channels. But at the time when we were starting, one of the things in regards to how to impact other people was just to make them smile, It was just about, oh, people are gonna laugh because I'm like a cheerleader when I play Call of Duty and like Sniper Elite and stuff like that, like these FPS games, and you have this high pitched voice, like we could do it, guys. We could do it. And I was never good. I was never good, but I used to love Call of Duty, and it was like, yeah, we'll make people laugh. I didn't realize the impact that it could have on like the grander audience until like I don't know, maybe like a year in, and then mind you, it was still just like a piece of the impact, because at the time, even though I know, like, I didn't see any other Black female gamers on YouTube. I didn't even know Twitch was a thing at the time, but it wasn't top of mind. It wasn't like present, like, oh, hey, there's nobody else out there. But if someone were to come and be like, there's no one else out here, I'd be like, yeah, I don't see anybody else, But like it wasn't top of mind. So that was also another impact of learning that. We're getting messages where it's like, hey, I was going through a rough time. Your content helped me through. It's like that was an unexpected thing. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's beautiful when we are able to like help others, during their rough times. Has there been a content creator that has done that for you? Like watching their content has impacted you and helped you through a
Mm.
rough time? What about you?
Mm.
Well, go ahead, you take it away.
Um, so I'm a DBT streamer, and there's a streamer named Modstarva who does a lot of like informational videos and things, and I just always like just watch his videos, and then I actually got to meet him at TwitchCon 2019 before all hell broke loose, and so and he's actually like a good friend now. So it
Mhm,
was kind of surreal, kind of having that go from this provided a positive light to transitioning to, oh, we're actually friends, and like navigating that and kind of moving through that. But I think everybody has like their select few content creators, or even if they're like the old school YouTube folks, right? People like where your nostalgia comes from. And I think that it's important to hold on to those things. I don't believe in idolizing people, but I do think that it's important to have those safe spaces or that content that gets you through, especially through a rough day. You can just turn it on and just do whatever
mhm,
else you need to do.
mhm. What about you, Goofy? Was there a content creator that did that for you?
Yeah, but definitely when I started first streaming and getting into content creation more so after college, I would look at other creators. Um, Looking back now, a lot of them are like, it's just funny that you asked me this today because it's like Twitter is like a fucking shit hellstorm right now. But,
Uh-huh.
um, but
I haven't even been on Twitter.
yeah, don't
Well,
go.
Don't do
It's
it.
okay.
okay.
Don't do it.
Oh
Mistake.
wow.
But
Okay. Okay.
yeah, there's been tons of
Mm.
streamers that that I really looked up to. One of my favorite streamers when I was really like started streaming and I like was looking to build a community was Lemonade. I don't know if you know her, but she was awesome. Still is awesome.
Mhm.
She just created that really safe space where people can come chat and game and talk, and it just felt really inspiring. And it was like, wow, I could totally do this. You know what I mean?
She's
So,
adorable.
oh,
Lemonade's
she's amazing.
adorable.
She's like my
Yeah.
comfort streamer. I go when I watch her stream and I
She
just
is the
like chill.
coziest streamer. Yeah.
Yeah, she's cozy as hell.
Shout out to Lemonade.
Yeah.
Amens, what about you?
I think I had a couple content creators. I don't know if you guys know like Daquan and like
Hmm.
Hamlets.
Hmm.
Like I like just kind of chilling there, watching their streams, the community, how they just vibe with them and everybody just having a good time and stuff like that. It's just like it's like one of the homies. I like those type of vibes and atmospheres. So those probably two content creators that watched heavy.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Really quick, I do want to say shout out to like Lang 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 Lang. Shout out to Zushi Cakes for the donation. Appreciate you.
Hey.
Much love to you. We'll start off with some of the questions that we got sent in because there are a lot. I want to jump into some of them. Okay, so this is a unique one, but this is by Tevin Miner. Tevin, and really quick for those who are watching, please, if you'd like to put a question, use hashtag Q&A, but also keep the questions regarding the topics of what we're talking about. Some people were asking some questions. I'm not even going to put those on the screen. Okay, they got to be about what we're talking about, mental health. If it's about mental health, go ahead and pop it up there.
Mhm.
So Tevin asks, how do you feel about people posting themselves crying? And how do you guys feel about self-diagnosis when it comes to mental health? Lainey, you're gonna be last because
Yeah.
I know this is gonna be one for you. So we'll start with amens and we'll wipe up, or amens or Goofy. You guys can just jump in. Lainey's we're gonna save Lainey for last with this. She's
I
ready.
mean,
She's
oh, go
ready.
ahead, Amen.
Yeah, I don't believe in self-diagnosing yourself with anything. Mental health, especially mental health, like definitely seeking a professional or something like that. In my opinion, as far as people posting themselves crying, um, I don't really. It's like if somebody's like it's like the attention or wanting to be like the victim. It depends on the situation. Like I could see if it's like a funeral or something like that, or you just having a rough time or something like that, like because of that. But yeah, I don't really I just go past the people crying thing. Yeah.
Goofy, what about you?
I mean, as soon as they said people crying, I just started laughing. I don't know. I'm childish as hell. I'm sorry.
I mean, I
It's
do
just
want
'cause
more context, Kevin. Is it like
yeah,
just
Yeah,
random
like it's
people just crying, or is it
yeah. I
like,
mean, I think it's
is
like
that a
like
usually.
TikTok
Yeah,
trend right now?
I would say obviously context matters because you can
Mm.
have someone on there, guys, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I was in a dark place. You know what I mean? It was like,
yeah.
it's like content creator. We've seen the same cycle again, he's done some
Mhm.
crazy shit. And it's like, but
Oh,
I
the
mean,
apologies. I got
me
you.
as a human being, I look at people crying and I think in them on social media, I think it as a cry for help. It can be attention, it can be whatever. Maybe a bid for connection. You know what I mean? Maybe they feel alone in their life. So I try not to, um, put my own bias on it too much. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I don't know what that person is going through. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he popped out there. He'll pop right back in. Um, there he goes.
I got yeeted out. What did I say something?
No, no, you were like talking to us. Nope. I
Um,
was like,
yeah. So
that
like,
wasn't me. I promise.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong. Like literally post whatever the fuck you want on social media. At the end of the day, it's your channel, it's your creation, or whatever. People are going to judge, but they always going to have something to say about it. As long as you're being authentically yourself and being true to yourself, then leave it all wherever it goes. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like self-diagnosing, I mean, I don't know. It can. I feel like it can be very prevalent that people get online and just say whatever and do whatever and just kind of like oh, I have ADD because everybody on TikTok said this is what it looks like and I have this and you know what I'm saying and but also I know that in the Black community specifically we don't really get a lot of diagnoses about Black people at the same rate that other people do. Sometimes we got to fight for that. So. I mean, I guess it just depends on the situation and the context, but I would say a combination of seeing a mental health professional, seeing multiple mental health professionals, you know what I'm saying, and trying to get a diagnosis out there.
Yeah.
So with that, before
Lanny
Lainey's
over there
unleashed,
cooking. She
I
ready.
know Lainey is ready. She's ready. Before Lainey goes unleashed, she's ready. She's like, I'm ready. But before that, I do like you guys are saying, I do need context in regards to the crying, the videos of them crying. If it's just, I do think that there's a possibility, as the wild things that we've seen on the internet, that there's probably videos of people like without context just crying and they post that, right? Because we've seen a lot of weird things on the internet.
Yeah.
That I do feel like is, I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't know what to do with that. I'd be like, okay, if there's no caption like explaining anything, it's just
It's
you
a bit of a
crying.
meme too, to be honest. Like, it's kind of like you
Yeah.
kind of make a joke out of it, especially with Black people. I notice a lot too. Like remember when
Yeah.
Tyrese was crying and they had that? I'm laughing. This is horrible, but
Yeah.
like they had that man everywhere on the internet with a different
I'm
caption.
not
You know
gonna
what I
lie.
mean?
I do quote, "What
Yeah.
more do you want from me?"
Yeah,
I do. I
yeah.
do
And,
quote
and
that.
that
It's
man was really in pain, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's not to make you a bad person, because I mean, I'm laughing too, but also just like how we are kind of removed from that a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just something to be said about this online culture, you know?
Man, that's
That's
true.
true.
I be watching movies and stuff sometimes, and it'd be like maybe a sad scene or something going on that's supposed to be like very emotional, and I'll just
Yeah.
straight laugh at it. I don't know why.
That's crazy.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we have Lainey here to unpack that. Okay. That's not where I thought you were gonna go. Lainey, go ahead.
I agree. I think context matters. Are you crying because the internet is your only output? Is your TikTok your only output? Does nobody else in your personal life hear you? Do you have no other resources? Especially when we're talking about like Gen Z and like younger. We came up seeing everything. Like everything shift, from dial-up internet and all that. We went outside, but also play video games. Whereas now it's so like you hand a toddler an iPad, right? So they find more comfort in technology. And
She has it. She knows the password. She knows her. Listen, sometimes you need it as a parent, Brian. You will have those moments where you have to take it away, but it helps.
So when people like feel more comfortable posting on social media, like I'll scroll through my timeline, and I'm like, did you really need to tweet that? Like it could have been the inside thought. We need to know that. Nobody needs to know that. But the idea of oversharing is so popular on social media now, which can lead to people saying, well, I think I have autism. I think I have ADHD, and I think I have depression and things like that. And here I am with my DSM that's like this big. And I'm just like, well, there's different types. Hold on. There's different types. You know, you might have a variation of this, but doesn't necessarily mean you have this. But that comes when you talk to a professional. And when you go to see a professional, you have to be honest about what you're dealing with, because that your intake, when I see you, when my intake department says, okay, this is what we're diagnosing, and then I meet you and I am 3 weeks in and I'm like, they don't have this. Because you were either not honest during your intake about what your actual symptoms were, which you actually were going through, because you don't, it's new. You don't know this random person that's just asking you a questionnaire about things you're going through.
That's true.
So of course it's going to be awkward, but I would encourage you to be as honest as you can in that moment, because the more honest you are, the more that we know how to work with you and what's actually going on with you. And so I'll have, parents say, oh, I think they have ADHD. And I'm like, no, it's not that. It's actually something else. I can see why you thought that, but it's actually something else. And so I think it's important, just overall education. Don't lean into self-diagnosing if you can. I know resources are slim, especially with, insurance playing with people's money and things like that. But if you have the opportunity to at least have like a free intake or a free session to get an idea of what's going on, I think that's a better bet than just scrolling through TikTok and going, yeah, I have that. And then just kind of running with it and rolling with it, because then you are unintentionally, or don't realize that you are probably causing more stereotypes on that diagnosis just by claiming you have it when you have not been diagnosed with that.
And I imagine it's probably, it has the potential to be damaging. Kind of like, let's say you have an illness and you're like, oh, I have this, and you're treating that. Meanwhile, that's not what you have, and this is still smoldering and getting worse.
Just autism in general, because it's such a wide spectrum.
It's a spectrum,
like a huge spectrum. And no one person with autism has the same type of symptoms. They don't learn the same way. So when people say, I have autism, it's like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means, babe. I don't know what that means. Like, it's a little bit more to it than that. So but just communicating what's actually going on, how you process information, what's actually bothering you, it helps us do our jobs much better. So
one thing I do want to ask you, since like TikTok's rise and the self-diagnosis rise that's been happening, because I've seen it. I've seen videos of people saying how, oh, I've been wondering what's wrong with me, and then ABCXYZ, I've got autism. And they're like, I feel like this is right. I feel like this is what I have, but they never actually went to see somebody to confirm it. But for you, when you're dealing with, patients and things like that, or clients, sorry, how have you seen that come into there, where they're like, yeah, I was watching TikTok and TikTok said this, so that's why I feel I have that.
Yeah. And I work in a dual diagnosis program, which it is like depression, anxiety on top of like a mild intellectual disability. So a lot of it is actual education there too, even just based down to basic hygiene in some regards. So when they see something on TikTok, because there's a bunch of likes and millions of views, they'll go, oh, well, this is true. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Especially when we're talking about history and like, social media and like trends on social media, social trends. So kind of trying to like, dial it back. And things like that. Like, anxiety is a big one, because, you can be anxious. Everybody feels anxious. But when you're diagnosed with that, that's a little bit different. So, like, you can have depressive, moments, but depression is a different thing. Like, that's like a clinical thing. So.
How do you know if you have, like, depression?
It depends on how frequent it is, how long it is, what your thoughts are, or symptoms are when that happens. Are there particular moments when you feel that way? So for example, there's seasonal affective disorder, which causes depression-like symptoms, but it's not depression. And that happens when, for those of us that don't live in, sunny areas all the time. So when, the sun goes away and it's gray for like, all of winter, that can affect somebody's mood.
Okay.
For that particular time, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have like major depressive disorder. So it kind of just depends on what it is, how long it is, how frequent it is. Like, do you find it happens like when it's cold outside? Yeah. Just like, okay, well, that's a little different. Whereas if you are, diagnosed with depression, that's all the time. Disney World, like, you're doing things you love to do and it still hits. So it's like
Okay.
it really just depends on context for everybody.
So like a symptom of depression would be like sadness or something, or just
You
like
can feel sad, but then depression is a different ball game. Like,
okay.
you can feel sad, like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. Like, I don't want to do this, right? But that's just
Mhm.
because you were, up watching anime till 2 o'clock in the morning and you had to get up the next morning. That doesn't
Dang, you know
necessarily
my
mean
life
you
story?
are. I call myself out. I call myself out. But that doesn't necessarily mean that
He's
it's
like, you too?
but that doesn't necessarily mean that moment of sadness that you had that is like depression is more so you are fighting that all the time.
Got you.
All the time.
Okay.
And it might go away for a little bit, especially we were talking about medication usage. It might go away for a little bit, but it always comes back. So
Gotcha.
like somebody can have a good week, right? Maybe, but like most of that month so
Gotcha.
there's a huge difference in terms of the thoughts you have when you're depressed, what it does to your self-image when you're depressed. So I'm like, oh, I didn't get the thing that I wanted, right? Like they didn't have the figurine that I wanted. I'm sad about it because I really wanted it, right? That's much different from I don't want to be here anymore. So
Mhm.
it's a huge difference. So
Yeah.
it's really just trying to figure out what the best treatment is for that person. Some people need medication. Some people just need an outlet. Like we were talking earlier about like journaling and like,
Yeah.
working out and finding something productive to do to kind of combat that. So everybody's also on a different spectrum when it comes to that too. So there's a huge difference between like, I'm really sad, and then somebody could be good and then they lose someone. And then grief brings that in. So it really just depends on the circumstances.
Gotcha.
Why that came up. So.
Okay.
Nice.
Really quick, violent professor. That's a name. That is a name. Says Lainey's chat is always talking about mental health too, and it's a very supportive and affirming space. So that's shout out to you, violent professor.
That's dope.
Hopefully you're not a violent professor.
Thank you, Vi.
And shout out again to Lainey for coming through. And Goofy, I know you're live too, so if anybody has a question that you want to like pop in here.
For sure.
Yeah. We'll go to this is from this might be a good question. This is from Cade Plays. Cade says, have you guys ever become mentally numb after a traumatic event? If so, how did you guys get out of that slump? Anyone could jump in.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I have terrible coping mechanisms. So that's usually how I get out of traumatic events. You know what I mean? And what that looks like for me is binging dopamine activities like watching shows and, escapism, scrolling phone, doom scrolling, you know what I'm saying? And that's like my, worst self, but when I'm being good about it, it's more looking like making sure I sleep, making sure I eat, taking care of myself, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of like understanding that the emotions I'm feeling are a process, you know what I mean? It's not just going to go away. And I just got to feel it out, gotta allow myself to feel. And I think I spent a long time in my life not feeling my emotions. And I think that caused a lot of, stoppage. And then it got to a point when I'm like, late 20s where I'm like, I can't stop feeling now because I finally unpacked everything. It's like, now I'm like, damn, bro.
Yeah.
Slow this shit in. So like,
you turn the faucet on.
Yeah, like I'm trying to find this balance now where it's like I don't want to just constantly be in feel. Neither do I want to be in do all the time and just suppress everything. I got to find that balance between the two. So I think the best bet is just, everybody's different, but for me, just finding that balance and also just continuing to take good care of myself. Because I feel like when you don't take good care of yourself, it only exacerbates problems. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's true.
You start dogpiling. You be like, oh man, this happened.
Or spiraling.
Yeah,
or
I mean, it can be a
spiraling.
self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes too. If that's what you do, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Man. It's tough, but also reach out to people too. That's a big one too.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to. I don't think you can meet all your emotional needs by yourself, and I don't think we're meant to. I think we're human beings and we're social creatures. So please go talk to someone that you trust and love, and that is happy to to hear you out and loves you in spite of your emotion, not despite of your emotions. So,
Amen. That's good, and that's exactly what I was gonna say, Goofy. It's just reaching out. to people, because I know for me personally, I'm an independent person. I'm the oldest child. I'm the one in the family that everybody, runs to
Oh,
and
you're a
stuff like
strong
that.
friend.
Yeah, and so that kind of like made me feel like, I got to take on my stuff
Hmm.
by myself. You know what I'm saying? And this is just, it's not good. And so when I started reaching out to people, I'm saying, who I trust, I was able to kind of like outlet and get some of that, what I'm saying, off of me, and someone was there to support me and stuff like that and help me get out of those slumps as well. So
Yeah.
I agree for sure, 100%.
Yeah, I think men specifically have a really hard time with doing that too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Where
sure.
we have this toxic masculinity. I hate to say the buzzword. Everybody's like,
Oh,
don't say the word. How
I
can
feel
men
like
be toxic?
you about to say woke too. You about to say woke. I hear it.
Somebody will come out
Careful
that,
now.
what do you say? I think that's at your house right now.
I know.
No,
DeSantis gonna pop right up in my.
but yeah, for real. But yeah, I mean, it can be definitely hard for as a man to be able to like do that because of how the expectation of manhood is. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
and that's something I challenge every day. Fully authentically. You know what I'm saying? So like, I know what it's like to have that pressure in yourself and try to fit that mold, and I don't think it's realistic for us fellas. And I think
It's
we hold
not.
ourselves back by not expressing that and not connecting with people. So.
Yeah, that actually was a problem in my marriage, like early on. My wife and I, we've been together for married for 9 years. You know,
Oh.
Are you in there?
yeah,
That's partnership right there.
Okay.
Asset
yeah, we,
commitment.
been together for 12, married for 9. And in the beginning, I was just used to just holding things in, you know what I'm saying? And it was negatively affecting the marriage and stuff like that. I had to learn how to kind of open up and let some of these things out. And once I was able to do that, it started thriving, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I knew it was the right thing to do and stuff like that. I don't look that old, but I am up there. I'm up there.
30s.
Yeah. Low 30s.
Low.
Hold up. Wait, I'm low 30s. Hey.
I'm mid 30. I'm the grandma in this group. I don't want to hear nothing. Okay.
I'm just saying, in my chat, people they think I'm like 23, 22,
Ain't nothing
just
wrong
about,
with that.
which is cool. But I'm just saying, like, when I say I've been in a relationship for 12 years, they're like, hold
That's
on.
your whole life.
Yeah, that's your whole life. You was 12 when y'all got together.
You came out the womb and just popped the ring right on her finger.
Exactly. I knew what I wanted.
Yeah, I would say for me, it depends. Like kind of like something that Lainey has said. Like I think like everything's a spectrum, right? How you deal with it is a spectrum. The mental place you're in when the trauma happens is also like a spectrum. So like if I'm in a sound place where I can foresee, like, all right, this is a big thing. This is probably how it's going to make me feel. Then maybe I can take that preemptive step, right? If it's like, okay, talk to my husband and be like, babe, this is, I need to talk to you. He's my first one that I would go to, or calling a friend or what have you. I would say, full disclosure, that is a rarity. A lot of the times it does catch me off guard. And then I will say I have gotten better at realizing some of my triggers, like being a people pleaser, right? But to an extremely unhealthy degree. And some of the times I can tell, like, okay, I'm not okay when it's to a huge degree where I'm like, okay, wait, what's going on? Why am I feeling this? Why am I thinking this? Why am I doing this? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not okay. I'm not all right now. And so that's where, kind of like what you're saying, amens, it's like being the strong friend. And it's one of the reasons I'm actually like looking into going back to therapy, because I will say that I've gotten to a place where, because a lot of people look at me a certain way, like together, I look like I have it together. It's very difficult to be vulnerable to some people. It's very difficult to let them know, like, hey, I am mentally not okay and I'm like struggling. And I think like a few months ago, I laugh about it now because it's kind of stupid. And there are moments where I can be blunt or aggressive, not aggressive like badly, right? But like I can be blunt and say like, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want. But like a few months ago on Instagram, I was just reposting posts from other people saying, hey, check on your strong friend, check on your strong friend. And those were kind of like my cries for help. I was
Okay.
kind of like posting it because it was very difficult for me to just try to talk to someone. Luckily, I did have like my husband, he's gotten to the place with me where if I walk in a room and he doesn't even see me, he's like, "Okay, babe, what's wrong?" Like
Yeah.
he can feel it in the
Yeah.
atmosphere that something's not
Yeah.
right. Or
Yeah.
a couple of my girlfriends might call me, and then I'll talk to them because I'll feel like comfortable with sharing. But I'm still not at the place where I'm like, okay, I'm not okay. Let me go and pick up the phone and call somebody and
Yeah.
be like, hey, I've got these problems. I've got these things I want to talk about. I need help or anything like that. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at being like 100% vulnerable, like down to the, I understand the importance of vulnerability. And I mean, in a way, telling you guys that that I was struggling is a vulnerability, but
Yes.
to the point of that assertiveness of like, hey, I need help. I'm not there. I'm not there. And
Yeah.
so when it comes to like um being mentally numb after traumatic event, I've been there. I've been there where something happens. Like I've lost a lot of people. It was funny being with my husband. He's only been to one funeral, and that was from going with me to a funeral about somebody that I knew. But when you lose people, it's an automatic thing. And like 2016, I won't go into all details, but 2016 was the worst year of my life, and then 2020 is the second worst year of my life. And with the world, it was like I was slowly feeling like I had no outlet because the world was burning, things were happening inside my family, and then I was just like, the only thing I had was streaming. Like it
Mm.
was like playing games and talking with my community was the only thing that brought me joy. But then I was playing Last of Us, and that ish got too intense. So I was just like, I PTSD. I'm like, I quit the game. I just like I can't play this right now.
Mm.
But I have
Yeah.
gone mentally numb and kind of like what we were saying earlier. Sometimes it's a survival technique. Like I need to shut down so I can survive
Mhm.
right now. Shut down all things.
Mm.
Um, how did I get out of the slump? I would say time was one thing. And then sometimes I baby step things. I'll baby step into like, okay, what can bring me a little bit of joy right now versus how can I fix myself right now?
Mm.
Because if I think of how do I fix myself, then I'm in my spiral, and
Okay.
it can be difficult to come out. So sometimes
Gotcha.
that is doing some of the stuff that Goofy was saying. All right, I'm gonna go on my phone. What's a show? Let me binge a show to like
Yeah.
just like give me some joy right now. That way I can start taking the steps like out of it. And then like I said, talking to my husband, or if my friends call me and ask me, then I'll tell them. But it's
You better
difficult for
pick
me
up
to
that
like,
phone
hey,
and call them, goddamn, Christian.
Pick
You better pick
that's
that phone
hard.
call.
That is so hard
It
to
up that
is.
do.
phone. Pick up that
I
phone.
think that's something that helped me specifically with that is just like me and my friends. Some of my friends have developed better language around talking about like about like traumatic stuff or venting or whatever. And I'll just call my friends sometimes. I'm like, hey, do you have the capacity for this right now? You know what I mean? That's a good
Good
question. I like
question.
to
That's a
ask.
good question.
You know what I'm saying? And like, and it'd be like, and that gives the agency to them, so I don't feel like, oh, I'm just dumping on you. And they say,
Right.
yeah, I'll be here for you right now. What's up, man? I can carry the load. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes they say no, and I'm like, all right, thank you for being honest. I got another phone call to make after this one. So you know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
That's good.
you're not alone too. I struggle with that as well. So I say that to say.
Yeah.
I'll have to write that down to like be something that I can say, because I feel like I have no problem being that for other people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I understand that mindset of like putting something out on social media and hoping that somebody will call me so that way I can talk about it or
Yeah.
get some relief. When I see it, I'll reach out. Like I have no problem being that for somebody else. It's that
Yeah.
mere. I'll message somebody if I see something like, "Hey, is everything okay?" Just checking in.
Mhm.
Even if I don't know you, I'll
Right.
DM. or if I have your number, I'll text you, you know? And it's just difficult for me to be like, hey,
Yeah.
I need help.
Yeah. You said something about the people pleasing thing. It kind of struck me. I was in a therapy session like a month and a half ago, and this the therapist told me.
With the team.
Hold on, man.
Yeah. And you know, I wasn't expecting to be like diagnosed with anything. You know, sometimes we think I don't know, just ain't
Gravy?
got nothing.
We
We
good.
good and all that. And he said something I'd never heard of. I think he called it relationship emotional disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And it has something to do with people pleasing. And he highlighted the two people in my life, which is my mom and my wife, that I literally do whatever for, to the point where it's like losing myself in a sense.
Detrimental.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like losing myself. I'm trying to make sure, you know what I'm saying, people good, but it was real enlightening. So the people pleasing thing just kind of struck something into me when you said that. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. So like, you know, growing up in a house of, you know, a bipolar depressed mom, you know, you gotta, it's like walking on eggshells, you know what I'm saying? You just never know what's gonna happen. So I got in the habit of understanding, one, that my feelings come second, and two, that I have to act a certain way to receive love. You know what I mean? So like that carried on with me for a long time, and it's something I'm still actively working on to try to like dismantle now. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, man, it's tough. It's really tough. I know, right? Damn, God, damn.
I know, right? I know we're striking into emotions, you know, like.
Goofy, man, I was giving you a hug, bro. I was giving
appreciate it, bro.
That's
Come
what
on
that
in,
was. I
bro.
thought you were
Come on.
stretching. I thought that was the stretch. Like,
my
that's a great
chat
stretch.
community is one of my emotes, man. We hug each other, man. You know, getting comfortable with that, and yeah, it's a big thing. So yeah.
That's, you know, before we go into our next audience question, one of the things I want to ask, because you guys both touched on it, you know, Goofy and Amens, and then I think somebody had said that this might be Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, or I might have missed it. You know, that's what somebody said to me. I cannot prove that that's a truth or a lie. Anyway, I'm leading to my question. You guys have talked about, like, Amens, you talked about being a man and dealing with mental health. And then Goofy Wise, you've mentioned the buzzword, which I won't say because I don't want to hear anybody say woke to me. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, for you guys as being men, and then on top of that, Black men, right? And all that comes with that in regards to society, being in America, you know, all those things that, you know, exist for you. How do you navigate being open about mental health, or even having a discussion about mental health? I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, Amens, about like, you know, your navigation, but like, how do you, like, being present in the fact that I am a man and I have mental health, and knowing how, like, for some men, when you talk about mental health, they like laugh at you, you know, like there was a guy that cried during a podcast, I think like last year. It was a Black man cried on a podcast, and then he was getting blasted on social media because he cried about whatever topic they were talking about. So for you guys, how do you navigate it?
It took a while, but I think for me, I just had to learn to not care what people think. And I think for a long time, you know, the world, society, and how they see a man and how what a man's supposed to be and stuff like that. And you try to hold stuff in, and the whole time you just destroying yourself from the inside and stuff like that. And I just learned to just like, you know what? You know, if this is something that I'm passionate about, this is something I want to talk about. I don't care how people perceive me. I'm gonna be me. You know, it's like knowing who I am. You know what I'm saying, and my value. And once I started realizing my self-worth and stuff like that, then, you know, I was able to just speak openly about it more, talk about it more, you know, and create my own wave, you know, and love and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of navigated through that space a little bit.
What about you, Goofy? Because you mentioned your mom was bipolar depressive. So like living in that environment and then being to the point where you're like, Mindful Mondays, I'm going to talk about it. How did How do we get
I
there?
found, I feel like it's kind of odd, but I'm gonna just be as candid as I possibly can. I felt like the more vulnerable I started to be and more open about my emotions about it, the more isolated I felt in terms of like, with other men. You know what I mean? And just in my perspective, you know what I mean? I felt like the things I would talk about, some people might call me radical, you know what I'm saying? But I just have a deep, passion for doing right more than being right. And I think that kind of puts me in a corner sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Because not everybody's ready to embark on that journey. You know what I mean? And sometimes I'm not even ready to embark on that journey. I drag my feet anyways. But what I did to kind of navigate that space, because it is very isolating, I just became really intentional about the connections that I chose to make with people. You know what I mean? I had to develop skills, because, me being a people pleaser, I'm like, friend, anyone nice to me? You are my friend. You're my best friend. Oh my God, I have a best friend. You know what I'm saying? But I started going through like checklists. Like, all right, like, does this person do this? And I had to build up, like, I mean, it sounds silly, but I had to build up like my standards for friendship, my standards for vulnerability, my standards for, certain, like, not everybody gets to get all of me. You know what I'm saying? Know that they deserve the right to have all of me. You know what I mean? So like, I think that's something that I definitely had to be more intentional about moving forward. You know what I mean? And just cultivating that space, that village. Amin said it, create your own wave. Had to build a little village for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes people leave the village, and I got to bring new people in, and what I'm saying? It's just a constant, like, people come and go in life. That's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I think it would be like giving up on myself and my own well-being to allow like myself to just stop reaching out and stop, finding new people and finding people that I can connect with on a deep level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to go where people celebrate you. You want to go where people, like, when you enter a room and people are like, "Oh my God, hey, it's my guy." You know what I'm saying? Go where you're celebrating. Don't go where you're like, "Oh, here this guy." You know what I'm saying?
He's back again.
Yeah, don't even be in places like that. And I just learned that I control my space and my time, and like, I'm not invested in spaces where I don't feel valued and loved. You know what I mean? Like,
facts.
I got it. I don't even want it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lainey, for you, what because you have, I'm sure you have a variety of clientele that you work with. Are there, I mean, obviously you can't get into specifics about
What's the social
obviously
security number
clients
right
of
now?
thing,
Tell me
right?
right
Like,
now.
tell me all their information.
Intrusive thoughts one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Intrusive thoughts one.
But like, for you, are there, when you see like a male client, are there, do you have to deal with those types of things of helping them to open up and to be more vulnerable in their space?
Absolutely. Ironically, my entire staff for our particular program is all women. And so they're kind of forced to address their misogyny, racism, self-hate, if you will. I actually ironically got told, not on Wednesday of this week, that over the course of me working with this individual, that he's never found Black women attractive. And I'm the first one that he's ever found attractive, because I'm different than the rest. And so we had to unpack that. So, and I was, so, yeah. So,
right. Yeah. Right.
I gotta deal with
it. You're saving us.
So in dealing with, that, and dealing with having male clientele be attracted to me and working with me, and just straight up saying, like, literally in the middle of conversation, by the way, like, can we date? Like, can this be a thing? No, absolutely not. And I'm very like, shoot, I see everything how I see it. I'm very much like, listen, I can't control whether you are attracted to me or not, as long as you know that nothing will ever happen.
Okay. So is there a thing? I'm sorry. Is there a thing where like therapists, like women therapists see women, men therapists see men? Is that something that you advocate, or is just like co-ed?
Whatever your preference is. Okay. Whatever your preference, I don't care who you see, as long as that person is doing their job and not projecting their worldview onto you, their biases, prejudices, anything like that onto you. I don't care. I don't care. Whatever your preference is. It's just that for our particular program, we don't have a male counselor for them to see, so they kind of have to address and sit with a lot of their uncomfortable biases about women.
Yeah.
And either we match it or we don't match it. And then, you know, God help us if we don't match it. Then all of a sudden there's like a whole lot to unpack and things like that. But yeah, no, I see it all the time in terms of working with male clientele. There's always the buffer there. And I think that because I'm a very direct person when I communicate to people, and that's just period. That's not even just in counseling. I'm very much like, I don't like when you do that. Don't do that anymore. And then it was like, whoa, like where did that come from? I didn't like it. I don't want you to do it anymore. And I want people to keep that same energy with me, right? If I do something that offends you or hurts you and it wasn't my intention, let me know. Because if you don't let people know when they cross your boundaries or when you know they do whatever, that's kind of your problem because you never communicated that to people. And people only treat you the way you allow them to.
Ooh.
And so you have to let them know, hey, I didn't like that. That made me feel like it was something simple as an I statement. I felt X, Y, and Z when you did whatever. Like you have to explain, I didn't like that. I felt hurt when you said that, even if it was like an inside joke or something that was one off. If it made you uncomfortable, talk about it, right? And take your time to talk about it. Don't, you know, if you're about to pop off and whatever, like, you know, go cool down first and then have a conversation about it, especially if you want to keep and maintain that relationship. But no, I see it all the time, especially because I'm a gamer. I'm very open that I'm a gamer. I'm open that I watch anime with my clients. So they
girl, woman that likes anime, I never seen that.
So they'll like come up to me like, oh my god, did you see Demon Slayer over the weekend? Like very much like, you know, we'll do little things like that. And I had one that went, you know, Miss Lenny, I think we're really good friends. We're not friends though. And then it's just like, ooh, and I go, well, that hurt my feelings. And I'm just like, but that's what it is though. Right? You know, we can talk and have a good time, but at the end of the day, we're here about this. We're here about what's going on up here. We can have mutual interests, but I'm not giving you my gamer tag. I'm not telling you I stream. I'm not doing anything like that. Absolutely not. I'll even play my Switch in front of them. And they're like, oh, can I add you? Let's play Mario Kart. No, we can't do that. You play Fortnite? Yeah, well, let's play. No, we can't do that because, you know, that crosses a boundary. And at the end of the day, I'm here for your mental health. Even if I'm in session and they'll go like, oh my God, did you see? Oh, we're not talking about anime.
Right.
We're talking about your weekend. Okay. Any symptoms, any challenges, what happened? What's going on? Because inside this room, it's about what's going on with you. We can have that casual talk out there. This is your time. And I have to remind them of that. So.
I think that's like an important thing that I feel like a lot of us do have a difficulty doing, and that's like setting boundaries, like clear boundaries, and then also having the language to defend those if it is clear and someone doesn't care, you know, or someone doesn't like, you have to like defend your boundaries. I think that's definitely where I definitely need assistance in like, okay,
I love
they're
it.
fighting
it's my favorite thing.
like fighting the boundaries and then having to like defend it in some ways. Some like, and that's again, if I'm like ready, if I go into a space like, okay, I'm probably going to have to defend my thought process or mental space, then I'm good. It's when it catches me off guard that's like a, okay, hold on.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm usually always caught off guard. So I'm like, I just go retreating to my little hole. I'm like, what do I do now? I'll tell you what. I mean, I'll tell you a time when I actually had to defend my boundaries. Me and my mom are no contact, so that's a boundary I set because I couldn't get the accountability out of, or even the growth out of the relationship that I wanted. And accepting that, I understood that like I can love you, but I have to love you from a distance. That's the boundary. And there was a time where like, oh, I understand now. Oh, I see the light. You know what I mean? And they come on moseying back in their life, and then they start picking up the same habits before, and it's like, oh, you didn't get the memo. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, well, I mean, goodbye. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's hard sometimes to be, you know, to stand up for what you know, your boundaries. But I can tell you that I'm a lot happier not dealing with it anymore at all.
How many times did you have to like when you're like, okay, we can't talk for a while, and then she came back before you were like, right, absolutely not at all?
I mean, it was a couple times. Because I mean, this is over years. So like, and my mom had like a hold on me. She was a very controlling parent. You know, I don't like saying this word because it's kind of a buzzword now, but I would say she had some narcissistic traits about her. You know what I'm saying? Very, very controlling, gaslighting, lying, all this stuff. And she kind of had a hold on me for a while. You know what I mean? And it was really hard to even like to disappoint her in any way. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I owe you this. I owe you this. I owe you this. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
she's your mother. I get why you
Yeah.
would.
So like, there've been plenty.
think
I
that.
mean, if I had to count, probably like 4 or 5 times before I was actually able to do that. And this is over months and years. You know what I mean? Of not getting the relationship that I deserve, really. You know what I'm saying? With not even my parent, but just a human being. You know what I mean? Like you're not just gonna treat me anyway. And this, I mean, I could cry right now because even now it's hard because like I still have love. I still miss. I still wish that I miss the relationship that we never had. You know what I'm saying? But I have to really just think about like what I deserve, and I'm like I'm not gonna walk into a situation where I'm gonna be, down 50 before I even walk in. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard though. Really
I
fucking hard.
applaud you. I applaud you for that.
Oh yeah.
That's tough. I still struggle to this day with my relationship with my mom and me wanting to please her, me wanting to do, what I can for her, and it's just a lot. You end up getting taken for granted.
Taking advantage of.
Taking advantage of all type of things, and that's still something that I still haven't set that boundary yet. So and it's just hard to do. It's hard to do, man. It's like this is my mom's, man. It's like
and that's true.
You grew up thinking it.
Yeah. One quote that always helps me is like moms will be like, "You only get one mom. You gonna treat me this way?" You know what I'm saying? Well, yes, because I only got one me too. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna treat myself that way either. You know what I'm saying? By allowing you to do me however way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I applaud. That's
good. I tend to be very radical when it comes to boundaries and things like that. Like my father, we already know my baby sister passed away pretty much the second day of this year, and so that changed the when I'm one of 11.
Oh wow.
Perspective. Yes.
Oh wow.
So, but I didn't grow up with them. I didn't even know I had siblings until I was 11. Ironically, like 10 or 11, and she was the first first sibling I ever met. And the thing is that my father had a duty. He had a job. His job was to unite his children. That didn't happen. So, when my little sister passed, because I'm the second youngest, he defaulted to me. And so, I walked in, he literally said, "The prodigal daughter returns." I said, "What are you talking about?" Right. And so in setting boundaries with my father, it's always been, I don't get sucked into that. Because, people say, well, blood's thicker than water. Yeah. And it's also murkier and dirtier. So, so it's important to understand that.
Because they about to use
we didn't ask to be here all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's a bar.
You didn't ask to be here.
That's facts too. Yeah.
You did not ask to be here. It was their responsibility to come through for you and raise you to the point where you can then be autonomous and do things on your own. When you are an adult, it's a different level. It's a different level. And people will still treat you like you're a child. So you have to step in certain moments and kind of say, just like, "Hey, I need you to go do this." "Okay, I can do that after I'm doing the thing that I'm doing." "Well, I need you to do it now." "I can't do it now." So we're at an impasse. So it's either you wait until I do what I need to do, okay, and take care of what I need to take care of and be done with it. Little things like,
we're
an impasse.
The same body language.
I like that. Put that on the shirt.
And, ironically, when we were setting up today, I was telling Christine, I was like, my grandpa's been like, trying to, reach out to me and things like that, but he don't want nothing. He just wants to like talk and just, do whatever. And I tell him, "Okay, well, you can call me, but when it hits 5:30, I got to stream." Then it's just like, "Oh, you love streaming. You put it before me. Okay, are you gonna pay me for the hours then?"
Right.
Right.
So, because if you slide me a check, I'll call you right now. Because if you're not gonna do it, then let me do what I got to do. So, very much that, and And one thing, especially about family, they're the closest to you, but they're also, because of the closest, they're also the messiest. So you really have to check those things when it happens. You know, in my family, especially with Black folks, we don't have a lot of education about mental health. So it's just like, there's Lainey. You like working with the crazy people. And I go, oh, yeah, you?
Dang.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. And it's just like, whoa. I was just saying, you know, because you work with different people. You mean regular people just like you?
Yeah, I just hate
that go to work just like you. And so it's just kind of like, you know, becoming a counselor, man, my clapbacks real quick. But in terms of just like having boundaries, you know, if I have,
I know, I'm trying to be able to be like,
I'm like,
Elena, a menace, man.
No, but like, you know, my clients will be like in my office, they'll be crying, just like, I just wish they would hear me out. And I was like, why do you want them to hear you so bad? And it's just like, because, you know, they're my family and I love them. Okay, but what are they doing for you right now? And it's just like, and they're just like, well, we're family. More than that, what are they doing? What do they bring to your life?
Right. We get that you're
what do they
family.
do?
You said that. What else?
When you see them, what's the first emotion that comes to your head? Because if it's not positive, we got to have a conversation. Right. If it's not positive, we need to have a conversation about that. It doesn't sound right. Okay. If you don't bring me peace and tranquility or at least good vibes, I don't want you anywhere near me. Okay. I will have people that will be like, listen, if you ever hear somebody say, yo, Lainey don't talk to me anymore, I don't know why. They know. Because I told them. Okay. That's why it's clear. If you are going to be severing ties, it's important for you to communicate while you are severing ties with people. So that person cannot walk around and be like, oh, they didn't even talk to me and didn't even let me know. And no, you knew.
Yeah. That's funny you say that because my mom literally said that, even though I was very direct with her. She's smooth like that. She's like, I don't know. I didn't do nothing.
Right. Furthermore, just because somebody apologizes doesn't mean you should accept it. Apologies are actions, not words. Thank you.
Oh. Can you write all this down for me, please? Also, is murkier with a U or a E? Okay, that's I was writing that one down.
I have a question. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
From my chat. This person said, my sister doesn't understand, and this is perfect because we were talking about family. My sister doesn't understand the relevance of emotions. How do you deal with someone who doesn't care or doesn't think emotions are important?
You don't deal with them.
That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, for real.
You don't deal with them because the here's the thing. Accountability is a thing. If you choose, okay, it's like somebody pays their bills, right? We have to pay our bills to have our lights on, right? If you choose not to pay your bills or pretend they don't exist, all right, that is your choice. But then you deal with your lights cut out, water out, internet out. You deal with all of that. You have to. And the same thing comes with people. If you are choosing to ignore the way that somebody feels, if you are choosing to look past them or not care about how they feel, okay, when they don't talk to you anymore, that's on you.
Yeah.
You have to deal with whatever. You can't make nobody want to be in your life. You can't make somebody care about you. If they care about you and it's genuine, they're just going to do that naturally.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
I feel like the aspect of family, it is such a, I think it's one of the hardest things that it's hard to like, for me, it's for me in this, what I'm thinking presently, because there are some people that they're gone. I cut them, they're cut. Every now and again though, I will be like, because you have the thoughts of like, oh, forgiveness, maybe reach out, because the thought, but then it's like, I know with the person I've cut ties with that if I were to say like, hey, you know what, I forgive you, let's move forward, let's have a relationship or whatever, they're either gonna use this opportunity as their get back to like shove it in my face and be like, no, right? Or it's gonna be a situation where they do, but they'll probably cycle right back into the things, because I still hear the things they do, and I know that they did not change or heal as a person, so it is still, I can't do it. But when we're talking about family, like, and some of the things that you said, like about people like, oh, you deal with the crazy people, and when they're like, oh, I'm just saying, those are things that those are like family triggers for me. When you said that, I was like, man, I hate the I'm just,
and then you follow it up. Well, I'm just saying, well, I don't want you to say that again.
Yeah.
It's like some of the jokes. I do feel like, even though I've been doing this for 8 years, I feel like my family still some of my family still doesn't understand it or doesn't look at it as a job or as a career or anything like that. So like I'll have certain family members that they've kind of pulled back a little bit on this, but they'll call me. I had like a streaming time. They'll call me right when I'm supposed to stream, but I'm like, okay, I let me answer just in case something's going on. I'm like, yeah, I'm streaming. Right now? Yes. Yeah, I'm streaming right now. I'm live right now. I'll call you back later. And I would just it would annoy me, but I'm live. I don't want to like deal with my family issue
You got a
with
job to
you in
do.
that statement. But then yet this person, when I called them and they're working, they're like, yeah, I'm working right now. So can I call you back? So it's like you have an understanding when it's you, but when it's me, it's like, right now, like, you're doing, and I'm like, why do you make this face when I tell you that I'm doing work? I don't make this face. I had to say this to them like a few months ago. I'm like, why do you do this when I say that, like when I say I'm working, but when you say you're working, I don't say this. I don't do this. And they're like, oh, well, I was just joking. I'm like, well, it's,
It's
not
not a
funny.
joke. It's not
Well, I
funny.
felt hurt when you made that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say
I
that.
appreciate you don't
She
do
said,
it
yeah,
again.
he said,
I didn't say that.
see, I struggle with the same thing, Christine. In my marriage, because I wanted to be I'm a content creator, and it was hard for my wife to see this as a job and stuff like that, and that made me feel not supported. You know what I'm saying? And I told her all the time. I told her, you could be cleaning turtles. I don't care what you do. I'm gonna support whatever, just because you know what I'm saying.
It pay bills. Is it legal? Cool.
Yeah, like it don't matter what it is, but
at.
in the beginning, it didn't feel like my stuff was supported, and that was a real kind of like low point, in our marriage. And she's much better now. She's like, do your thing, and she, all for it. But that was definitely a hard space that I had to navigate as well. So I know where you're coming from.
What about you, Goofy? Like, was that like when you started as a content creator, was that something that was difficult to navigate between your relationships? And I don't know if you were still with your, talking to your mom at the time. Was that also a thing, or was this after?
I wouldn't say specifically with my mom, because I don't think my mom was too concerned with my life after I graduated, because I felt like that was all she really had in her checkbook for me to do is graduate, so she could say, "Oh, my son graduated." You know what I mean? My kid's a college educated. You know what I'm saying? And that was like a badge of honor that she wanted to carry on for herself. But I would say specifically with, I was playing basketball. For y'all who don't know this, I'm 6'11" tall. So like there was this, yeah, I know. There was this expectation for me.
It's the I know.
Yeah, for me growing up, and my family didn't expect me to be like an NBA player. They didn't expect me there, but also my society. Everywhere I went, people were like, "You play basketball? You play basketball? You play basketball?" So as a young impressionable kid who doesn't have a good hold on myself, you know what I mean? That's kind of the mold I followed into. You know what I mean? And when I broke out of that in college, I quit. There was this, I definitely had a lot of people that thought I was weird for it. You know what I mean? And there were some people also that I thought would think I was weird before they even had a chance to. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was definitely a hard space to navigate. You know what I mean? I had to really just jump out on a limb and just say, "Hey, you either with me or against me, or you're with me or you're not here." And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I won't say that it was an easy time in my life. It was very hard. You know what I mean? A lot of people just stopped fucking with me. A lot of people just didn't follow up with me much. You know what I mean? So. They thought I was kind of, silly, goofy, but I mean, they always thought I was silly, goofy. So, what's new?
It's in the name.
Yeah. So I just took it. I'm like, you're right. I'm going on. I'm goofy. Yeah, what's up? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely struggle with that, and it is hard to be your authentic self sometimes. But you gotta know your why, and you gotta know where you're going, and know that everybody can't go with you. So.
So Lisa Baker asks a question. Lisa says, "Can you talk about PTSD?" Also, is my hand okay? Yes, my hand is fine. I have carpal tunnel, and sometimes it flares up. So I was trying to play Fall Guys on the Switch like this, and it was not great to do. So I don't advise it. Maybe if it's docked, that's okay, but in your hand doesn't work. So for you guys, do you guys, how do you guys, feel about PTSD? Do you feel that you might have some? Do you feel like you don't? And then, Lainey, you could jump in too, of course.
But I don't have any.
Yeah, I don't know if I have PTSD, but I tell you one thing: my mom used to yell when she was cleaning, and she started sweeping, started vacuuming, and anytime I hear that motherfucker, that sweep going in my house now, I'm like, no, I didn't do it, mama, I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I don't know if that's PTSD or just a little trauma. You know, I don't know.
I have trauma, not PTSD.
Yeah,
Trauma.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure if I have that or experience that too much. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I wonder if like what's the difference between like trauma and then PTSD?
PTSD is defined by a specific like trigger or stressor that causes. So for example, if you're like a army vet, right, or a vet in
Right.
general, and the sound of like fireworks brings back you on the battlefield and things like that, or if somebody survived like a mass shooting, right? So
I got
someone
that.
being in an area like that, let's say like schools, for example. So if you were a student when that happened and being in a school environment, there are mass shooting victims who are teachers now that work in the school. So that's a constant kind of, checking where the exits are. Yeah, checking where exits are, kind of being like on top of, things like that. PTSD will require a lot of consistent check-in, a lot of intense therapy to address those issues, which is why I do not understand why in certain states where they said don't shoot fireworks, y'all shoot fireworks anyway, because we have, vets, but okay. In terms of car accidents, you wouldn't be able to drive down that intersection. You wouldn't be able to take that freeway if it happened on that. It's a more intense kind of, thing. Every time you're in the same vicinity as when it happened, you are hyperventilating, flashbacks, nightmares about it. So PTSD is more extreme than just like,
Yeah, I think growing up, I thought it was always just kind of directly related to like your first example was Army vet, like them coming back.
Yeah.
So I thought
car accidents, all that.
Yeah, I thought it was just like only they can have it, but
it's associated with them, but it can also
Yeah.
be tied to like if you were, survived a shooting incident, things like that.
Right. And
but it takes an event or a trigger.
Okay. My wife would call me paranoid all the time because I'm like my head is on a swivel because like I said, growing up in Chicago, like you in the city of Chicago.
I'm from Chicago too, so I got you.
Yeah, like taking the CTAs, crossing certain blocks,
sure.
going 1-2 blocks another way, dealing with gangs, all type of stuff. I just thank God, like I made it out of there and stuff like that. So now
I would argue probably.
Where you from? I'll bang.
Fortunately, I played sports, and so I knew all the gang bangers. Everybody was like, "Nah, he cool." And they called me men's back in school, like. So I thank God for that. But just hearing certain sounds, like you said, or my wife is just like sitting in her car, on the phone with the window down, and I'm just like, you watch your surroundings and stuff like that, like always trying to take precaution and stuff, and it's just like. I think that was just, a form of PTSD. Just
100%. I would,
up there.
I would definitely, depending on how long you deal with it, how often it comes up. Yeah, that could be considered that.
Yeah, so I carry that thing on me, like dang.
I bet.
I'm just like, look, because I drive a Hellcat, so like too, it's bringing attention, but it's like I know. Like I want to be ready for certain things, so it's just like it's a lot of stuff.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that some clarity was brought to for you.
It's in the trunk too.
Yeah.
That's clarity.
I was diagnosed with PTSD from my childhood and what I went through and I will say it's funny but sad, but like you ever saw Jason Bourne? You saw like the Bourne Identity, the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, you know when he's in the restaurant with the girl, and he was talking about how he doesn't know who he is, but he's like, I know there's 2 exits back there, there's 2 exits right there. There's a guy
Okay.
that's got a drink in his hand,
Yeah.
and then this person over there is
Period.
like doing this, and he's like, why do I know all this? How do I know all this? Right? Because he doesn't. For those who don't know, all the Bournes except
Series.
for one of them was great. I think the one when they switched actors, when Matt Damon wasn't in it anymore, it wasn't great. But
Mm.
so check it out. All right, they're great. But
I'm
anyways,
gonna watch that tonight because I'm
I thought,
feeling
yeah,
overstimulated.
right, yeah. Bourne Identity is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It's an action set piece, so it's gonna be more stimulations. I don't know if you want to.
Oh,
It's like,
I mean,
but yeah, it's
as long
action.
as they my stimulation, yeah.
Right. But I used to feel so proud that I had that thought process. Like, I like the fact that
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I know where the exits are. I know
Uh-huh.
where
Mhm.
that what's going on over here, what's going on over there. I know that this person, all this other stuff. I used to feel like
Mm.
proud of that until I realized or learned, I was diagnosed with
Trauma
PTSD, and
response.
I'm like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, and
Yeah.
you're not Jason Bourne.
Mhm. Listen, I have never been through a violent thing, but I do that. I think it's probably just being from Chicago. I'm just like, okay, where the exits?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If that person looks like they're gonna do something, can I get up quick?
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, movie
It depends on
theaters.
where I'm
It
at.
happens
You
to me
know
in the
what I'm
movie
saying?
theaters. Movie theaters all the
Yes.
time. Every
Oh yeah,
time
movie
we
theaters.
sit in the front and I'm watching, who is this person that's going to the bathroom? Okay. All right.
Mhm.
I'm gonna see you.
Man.
Do you have your hands in the pockets? Are you just
Yeah.
walking with your
Mhm.
hands loosened out? Are you walking slow? Are you walking extra fast? If you walking fast, are you looking
Mhm.
behind you? Like I'm
Okay.
yeah, so
Good
I
thing.
still
Mhm.
All right.
listen, because so then obviously because of the mass shootings, and it's like
Yeah.
it's to a point where I don't even have to experience the thing that
Yeah.
someone experienced,
Mhm.
but I like when it happened. The last one was in a theater. Like anytime it happens in a place, I now in my mind it's like it can happen at that place here where I
Yeah.
live. So
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
watching like the people that are walking around, and I remember watching because I know the big one that was in Colorado was around the Batman movie. I think the
Mhm.
last Christopher Nolan Batman movie, and after that, the first movie I saw after that event was Avengers: Age of Ultron. And I remember sitting there, it was a packed theater, and I was like freaking out. Because mind you, my husband had already watched it. I was working a regular traditional job at the time. So I went right after by myself. And
Mm.
there's a person on my left, person on my right. And I'm looking at them. I'm looking to the right. I'm sitting right by the railing. I'm like watching everybody.
Mhm.
I do remember the movie, but I more so remember sitting there being like, okay, I have to watch everybody and then looking at
Mhm.
the exits. And I'm like, okay, if the shooter's over here, I'm going to have to run over here. And then I'm like, well, if I'm trying to help people, how many people can I help? It got really bad. It was like
Man.
really, really bad. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, it's tough. No,
All
it's
right. So
real.
next question. Next question.
Oh, it's real. It's real.
Yeah, we do. We
Let's
deal with that.
yeah. Next question. Val Raven says, which actually this is a perfect question right after what I just said. What are some ways for calming down anxiety during job interviews?
The best way to calm down anxiety during job interviews is to do job interviews. Like, just keep doing them so that you feel comfortable doing them. Because I was like that in the beginning. I was just so nervous. People tell me breathe deep breaths 3 times. I do that. Didn't help. But the more I did, the more I did it, the more comfortable you are doing it. Because I have to do presentations at work. I work for a Fortune 100 like IT company, and I have to do presentations to like director level people, and it brought when I first started, I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm level this. Like, y'all directors, I don't need supposed to be in here. And I had anxiety for a whole week because I knew I had a presentation to do. And the more I kept doing it, I'm like, now I'm cool. Now I'm just like, I'll go in there, I got my stuff ready and do it. So just do it more. Do it repetition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Goofy Wise?
I mean, just to echo what he said, just do more repetition. I would even set up something at home, talk in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Ask yourself questions. Have someone else ask you questions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shit like that. You know what I mean? I could hit you with the 1-2 combo yoga meditate. You know what I'm saying? be in the present moment. You know what I'm saying? But mean, at the end of the day, it's going to take a combination of things and time and effort. So yeah.
Okay. Lainey, what advice would you give?
I would echo all of that. And then if you need, while you're actually like sitting there, like in the waiting room, something like a stress ball could help, or something that you can like fidget with to kind of like put that energy into something else. If you need to practice your route to the interview, because I know some people get anxious on the drive, but if you're familiar with the drive, then that's, not so bad. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, pretty much what everybody said. And also just kind of understanding that kind of whatever happens. Don't walk in, being like, okay, like if I don't get it, I'm a failure. Or I'm gonna get it. Just kind of go,
manage your
expectations. An interview. They got more people to interview. I am, one of many. Let's see what happens, because you may get to the interview and they may be nervous to get you. Because maybe they, they had so much overturn. They get so much overturn. They're like, oh God, please come in here. So it could be also anxious on that end too. So.
That's what you gotta hit them with. Why should I work here? What's the work? What's the work environment like in here? They start saying, "Oh, it's a family. We really hold up."
That's a red flag. That is a red flag. Okay,
right.
That is a red flag. Because a lot of the times when they say, "Oh, we're a family here," it means like, "Oh, a lot of people agree the same way or have the same mindset." And if you're different than that, it's never a good thing. Learn from example. I've went through that. Like, we're a family here. We all have so much fun together. And all. No, boo boo.
Make them nervous. Ask them questions.
Yeah.
No, I agree with y'all. And then keep doing it and practicing too. Goofy, you might relate to this as well, but you kind of default to the level that you are prepared at too. So sometimes when you like playing sports or something like that, like you know to do the routes because you practice it so much. You know what I'm saying? No matter what come at you, your body just like, all right, I'm gonna make this sharp turn. But like practicing and being prepared, so that sometimes when you're in interviews and you're anxious, it could kind of like take over and you might stumble over words and stuff like that. But then you do it so much, it's just like how to like pick back up and just like keep going forward and stuff like that too. So a lot of preparation.
I will say that one thing that people pleasing did give me is being a really great bullshitter on the floor. I come up with some shit. Why do I want to work at Yogurtland? I really love yogurt. I always had a passion for yogurt. It tastes when it's in your mouth.
Your yogurt is the
best. And your yogurt is the yogurt I'd die for. Start saying shit.
That's funny. That's hilarious. But yeah, I think that those were all great, wonderful things. And with anything, try a bunch of different things and see what works for you, see what works best. I will feel like I do feel like it is important that the attempts. I think a lot of the times we feel things and we don't try to like fix it or remedy it, or we just have that mindset. There was something I was watching the other day where they're like, oh, a part of their process is being nervous or having that anxiety for like a few days or whatever, right? And I don't think that that's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing that you're just like, I'm glad you're aware of it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like, okay, I'm going to be nervous for the next couple of days, how can I manage it? How can I address it? How can I approach it?
I feel that.
And you'll find the things that work for you. You know?
To that point, I feel like a lot of times we want to think up the best thing that's going to work for us, but I feel like, clarity comes from engagement, not thought. You know what I mean? You gotta get involved. You know what I'm saying? But you're never gonna have the absolute worst plan you'll ever make is the very first plan you make. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have to just go in and just fucking go for it and see what it is, and you're gonna get, you're gonna take some L's. You know what I mean? That's a part of the process. You take some L's, but you're also gonna learn a lot too about yourself. And I think on this journey called life, we are on a self-discovery journey to find more about ourselves, especially, society, we can be so removed from our oneself,
Yeah, for sure. No,
I do want to take this moment really quick to say, like, sometimes we have streams and they're amazing. They're wonderful. They're beautiful. All right. And normally with regular gaming streams, we do engage with the chat often. We, talk to them, nourish them. All right. But you have is acting crazy today, and y'all need to calm down. Okay. In this chat on here and on TikTok, y'all need to calm down. Y'all don't act like this on a regular night, so calm the F down. All right. You in here saying, "Oh, we don't see you." Yes, I see you, and I'm gonna block you. Thank you. Have a great day. All right.
Nah,
So, right, coming in here. Let me hit hide user on this channel. Bye-bye. All right.
Right.
There you
So
go.
the next
the boundary.
question that I will say that's where I'm okay. That's where
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You're better at it than you think you are.
It's the family members that I'm just like, okay,
Yeah,
I gotta
Love that
do.
boundary setting. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could approach it like that. Be like, okay, you acting up right now. And if not, I'm gonna have to block you. Okay. I'd be like, maybe if I approach them like I do
Handle that. I'll do the same thing. Come on, we got it, Christine.
We can do this. We can do
Come
this.
on.
We can get healed. We could be healed. Okay. So okay, let me see what, because Tevin did send a bunch of questions, and let me see one of the other ones that they sent. Do you think many people cause or speak mental health issues? Oh, okay. This is actually, I do feel like this does kind of touch into something we talked about earlier, but could still be different. So I'm interested to see your guys' thought process on this. But this is from Tevin. Shout out again to Tevin. Tevin said, do you think many people cause or speak mental issues onto themselves? If so, in what way?
Most definitely. I mean, I've struggled with depression my entire life, and then I got with a therapist, and I saw how much of a self-fulfilling prophecy that I was setting up for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, there was times where I was on medication as well, but like even within that, space, there's choices you make every day. You choose to feel a lot of the emotions you feel, and sometimes you just choose to do it because it's familiar to you. You know what I mean? It's a comfortable emotion. So therefore I'm going to go here regardless. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to get out of. You know what I'm saying? But the only way to really get out of it is to start to challenge those thoughts and be aware of them first, but challenge those thoughts and try to put in new ones. And my thing is now is like I try to treat myself like the parent I never had. You know what I mean? So. It's as much as I want to be mean to myself and shame myself into acting the perfect way that it's going to solve all my life problems. I got to be patient with myself and have grace. Be compassionate. Tell myself I love myself. You know what I mean? Like all that shit. You know what I mean? And that's that's what works for me.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, I want to touch on, because you did mention that earlier, and it did make me think of like how we're in this new age where I'm hearing this a lot, like parenting yourself now. Like it's this new wave I'm seeing on social media. Like now we have to parent ourselves in ways that our parents did not. And I do feel like it is, like you said, thank God I'm happy that there are a lot more people taking that step, because our parents didn't take that step, and they just continued to pass on the things that they went through and the lessons that they learned. Yep.
Trauma not transformed is trauma transferred. That's a good quote that I
Whoa.
Yeah.
Write that down. Write that down. Okay.
I heard it on TED Talk. That ain't me. As much as I want to take credit for that one, that ain't me.
Hold on. I gotta write that down. Say that again one more time.
Trauma not transformed is trauma transferred. So
please stop traumatizing my clients. Pretty please.
That's real.
Hold on.
Oh, you're all good.
Okay, there, I'm done writing. All right. So I do agree. I do feel like many people can cause or speak mental issues into themselves. The only time that I think it's a benefit if you're like, okay, I think I have something, or I think I have this, let me go seek help from a professional, and then you can find out what you actually have. That's the only good that can come from that. I think sometimes we see our family members do it, where they say, oh, they have this, or oh, they have that, or being diagnosed by somebody else, like a family member, like, oh, this kid, they must have ADHD because they just can't sit still. You know, that whole
Oh,
the whole
yeah,
thought
I
process.
definitely love
And
that one.
patients,
Yeah.
yeah, they love to do it.
Mhm.
And then sometimes you get like you had talked about this, Lainey, earlier about how sometimes when it comes to the self-diagnosis because of what they see on TikTok or social media or what they have. And now because social media is just like access it right at your fingertips at any
Mhm.
time, I feel like that is getting worse where that whole, oh, either you're self-diagnosing or diagnosing someone else as, oh, they have
Mhm.
this or they have that. And
Mhm.
there
You're
are
a
things that
narcissist.
yeah, like we're looking at like, oh, you have ADHD because you're just like that, and then
Yeah.
getting to like because that was said to me, I did go and get tested, and it turns out I don't have ADHD. What it is that I
Mm.
have an overactive mind, and because I have an overwhelmed mind, an overworked mind,
Mhm.
because I'm constantly thinking of the 4 channels that I have. I'm constantly thinking about my daughter.
Mhm.
And mind you,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of things from my life I still got to heal from, and deal with
Mhm.
and whatnot. And she was saying like my mind is firing at all cylinders constantly
Mhm.
because of all these things. And then I just told you about the movie theaters, and that I know I said
Mhm.
that movie was Avengers: Age of Ultron, but I did see Across the Spider-Verse, and I was watching these people walk back and forth in that movie theater, okay? Like, sit
Mhm.
down. Can
Well,
y'all
what
use
y'all
the bathroom
doing?
before? Like,
Okay.
why don't we do this, okay?
All right.
Why are y'all
Like
paying?
who gonna miss a
Movie
movie?
theaters,
I'm never missing
right?
a movie.
I
It's
hold it
crazy.
till the end. The way
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
pay for this.
hello, and it's expensive now. Inflation is a thing. Eggs are $8. Let's think about this, people. Right? I
Eggs
understand.
$8.
Eggs be
Yeah.
$8 is crazy though. I don't even eat eggs no more. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
For real.
wild, bro.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thought I seen today.
Mhm.
It's crazy, and I don't understand why eggs inflated because gas prices haven't really gone up too much, and there's
Don't say
not a
nothing about it.
difference in chicken
They gonna
numbers.
get us. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you start
Not
saying the
next
gas,
year.
they're
Nothing
like,
you
Not
said.
next year. It's an election year. Election year,
Yeah.
that prices go down because they don't
Oh,
want
true,
us
true,
worrying
true,
about
true.
gas. So
Yeah,
next year we're gonna be all right with gas. Not
Shoot.
anything else, but with gas, we're good.
Yeah, no, I've even seen this in my own sessions where I have clients that struggle with like anger. Well, I just have an anger problem. Like I can't control it. I'm like, you can, and they go, no, I can't, and I was like, but you do it here. You're
Mm.
doing it right now in the session with me for an hour. Like, well, you're different, but you're still controlling it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying the exact same thing as this person that you live with, but you scream at them, you haven't screamed at me.
Yeah,
Like,
sometimes people talk to you, man,
no,
in different ways.
and I said it's not that you can't control your anger. It's like when you can and can't do those things.
That's
And
true.
I was like, so
Mhm.
when you tell me that you can't control your anger, you're doing it right now. So you and I both know that's not true.
Right.
So what we need to figure out is why this particular person is the person that triggers you. Or I have like 3 clients right now that are struggling with like grief, and they're saying, I'm never gonna get over this. You're right. You're never going to get over it. Absolutely. That's 100% valid. But what can we do differently? Because if you allow it to continue to happen in this way, you can keep drowning.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we gonna do? Because you tell me that
Right.
you want to do something about it. So what are we doing about it? And so kind of like changing the way that we view it. But when like words like depression and sadness and anger and all the people will latch onto that for their dear life because it absolves them of accountability with what they're doing.
Mm.
Or it
Mm.
absolves them from having to change something for themselves. So if you come to me and you're like, well, I have an anger problem. Okay. Do you want to do something about it? Yeah. Okay, great. So what are we gonna do about it? What we doing? This collab. I cannot start the car if there's no gas in it. So what we doing? Where we going? Right? And I always remind them this is a dual process. Okay.
Right.
I'm not here to tell you what to do. You came to me with a 3,000 piece puzzle and went,
Right.
what do I do? And you're putting 2 pieces together and I go, what about this one? Have you tried this one yet? Right? So like that's our job. I'm not you. I can't tell you what to do, but I can listen to you and go, okay, come back to that. Okay, wait. Oh, yeah, put a pin in that. Okay. All right. And just slowly start to put things together. And my client actually had a breakthrough on Thursday, and they just had a breakdown in my office because they lost both of their parents, but their parents also caused a lot of trauma to them. And so they never got the closure for the trauma that was done to
Oh,
them.
that sucks.
So they mask their grief with saying, well, I need to like manifest. I need their faces on t-shirts. I need a piece of their clothing. I need this. And I'm just like, now I could be reaching, but let me know. You're really mad at them, aren't you? And then it just went, yeah, and just like full on wailed. And it's just kind of like understanding the complex emotions that lie under, you know, what you think you're going through. There's probably a lot more to unpack underneath that. So when you're speaking it into existence for yourself, right? Well, I'm just angry. That's just who I am. Okay. Is that who we always want to be though? Because if that's not the case, then we got to do something different. Because the way you've been doing something this whole time, it's not equating to what you want. So we're trying to get over here. So how can we get over here?
Got you. So instead of just speaking about, you know, what you think you're going through, like actually, you know, taking efforts to try to just change that.
100%.
Yeah.
If you tell me, well, I'm trying to go to McDonald's down the street. Okay, we got to get in the car. Then we got to start the car. Right. Then I got to put it in, you know, in drive. Then I got to, you know, look both ways. We have to do steps to get to where we need to go. It's not just, you know, like, well, I'm not upset anymore. Oh no, hun. No, that's not how it works. Just because you lock Michael Myers in the closet doesn't mean he's not still in the closet.
Hey, I gotta take him out the closet.
Okay. So it's just like I'm just gonna close them. No. I'm just gonna
take that clarity with
stuff
you.
them in there.
Right.
It's almost like when you're like in a room and it's filling with water. You got two options: get out or just drown. And so it's like when people are like, "Well, that's just who I am, and that's just what I've always known." And okay, that's great. I'm gonna get out of here though. So when you want me to come back for you, cool, let me know. I'm gonna go this way though. Right. Yeah. So it's like, you know, if you're not putting in the work for it, you're not gonna move at the end of the day. And I hear you and I get you, and I can have all the empathy for you. But the benefit of what I do is that I can go, I hear you. So what we doing?
See, I'm gonna take that advice and I'm gonna look in my closet and really see if the
why do you need another clip?
It's too much here, but and I'm gonna really see if it was really forgiveness in a certain area in my life. Just a little bit is I don't know who my real father is. So for a long time growing up, I just I thought he just left my mom's, all type of stuff. It was just a lot of anger there and stuff like that. And I ended up going to college and stuff and then finding God. And I felt like I forgave him, you know, and I felt peace about it. And then, so I just kind of locked it in the closet. I'll never met him to this day or anything. So I feel like it's still a lot.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Who do you think forgiveness is for?
It's for me. Yeah, it's for myself because I wasn't able to. Once I forgave, then that's when I felt like all that anger and stuff left me, you know, like growing up. So I feel like I've had true forgiveness, but I also feel like there's still something there that I can't put my finger on. And I think just trying to find my dad, my real dad, and just, you know, have a conversation with. I probably got other siblings around here that I don't even know about. And yeah, so I think I might just unpack that a little bit more.
These heavy breaths that you're taking. You're like,
I wish I could find forgiveness sometimes, and I wonder if it's for me. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, when I think about forgiveness and I'm trying to forgive, it's like I don't know if I'm ever get to that point where I can forgive my mom. You know what I mean? To be honest, like how do you forgive without accountability? You know what I mean? And I know that I'm not doing it for myself, or I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it for myself, really. I want to, but it's just like I gotta get back, nigga.
And nobody should tell you when that should happen, because I currently work with a young man who his family, not the nicest, not the greatest, intense trauma. they have placed on this young man. And his previous counselor told him tried to tell him how he felt about his family.
Dang.
Said, well, you love your family. And he's like, I don't though. But no, you do. Everybody does. And so he was mind boggled that I wasn't doing that. And I was like, yeah, here you go. And he's like, why are you just letting me say that? And I was like, I don't know your dad. I don't know y'all's relationship. I don't know your family. I don't know what that was like for you. So who am I to then say you should forgive them? No, absolutely not. However, if we're going to talk about the concept of forgiveness and what it does for you, because the thing about closure is that closure takes accountability. It takes people saying, I did this to you and I should not have done that, for you to actually have closure for it. But you're not going to get that most of the time, especially when it comes to what people have done to you. So part of that forgiveness is you giving yourself permission to move on from that.
Yeah.
As best as you can in the time that you can.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's making me think about some of the things that, like, that's where it goes back with that, like, that person, like I said, that I'm like, oh, maybe I can forgive them. Maybe it'll be okay. And then I'm like, the accountability is probably, like, I'm sure it's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, no, like the things the lies that my own father has done with me, I've forgiven him, but when we talk, he's never absolved of what he does or what he has done. So it's very much like, okay, I'm gonna go, and then it's like miles a minute, like talking like a car salesman, stopping me from getting into my car, and it's just like, okay, Dad, I have to go now. If you would like to talk to this about me later, you know my phone number. We'll talk tomorrow. And then it's always like, okay, well, I'll call you. No, and they're not going to call. I'll do this. No, and they're not going to do this. And you just kind of go through the motions. But because I forgave him for me, I don't have resentment towards him, because we bring it up all the time. There's no rock unturned or whatever, because he is like, we should be closer. Why are we not? Right? And you bring it right back to the forefront. He will never take accountability for what he does. And I know that, but I always bring it back.
Yeah.
And it's always, okay, you know why though. you know why it's like this. Like, let's not play games. So, and in the healing, you have to do it for yourself. And sometimes it's healing that small child by yourself, unfortunately.
For yourself, by yourself.
Yeah.
Can I had a chat question. Can you define forgiveness?
Woo! The process of doing the mental work to heal for yourself by yourself. If I had to put a definition on it, because I think too often we equate forgiveness with, oh, I'm sorry, it's okay, let's try this again, all right. But that can't fit for every single instance of apology. That can't fit for every single version of forgiveness. Because Christine gave the example where, you forgive and then you're right back where you were.
Yeah.
Like a few weeks later, because that person didn't mean it.
I think you've made me realize I might not be ready to forgive, because I'm like,
no, sir.
I definitely don't. I'm still triggered by some of the things or some of the thoughts of, because it's like our circles, they don't touch, but they're around. So I know they see me and I hear things that they're doing or what have you. So it's not like they are completely like a shut door where I don't even know what they're doing or what have you. But even some things, sometimes I'll see something and it'll trigger the memories of like the conversation. And I think because there wasn't the closure, that's the hardest part for me. It's that aspect of, because it's like, it's not a thing where you have to agree with me, but I felt like I was not able to fully state the problems or the issues. So that way those things can be either discussed, or you could then be like, yes, or I do see that, or no, I still don't see it, but at least I've said it. And I haven't said, I didn't get the chance to say that thing. And so even though they are not a part of my life, they're still alive, but they're just not a part of my life. And it's like, that's a thing where every now and again, like I would say the times in between those moments are grander, But every now and again, there's a moment where I'm just like, I still have things to say to that person.
So, Lainey, you've been talking to us for a couple hours now.
Yeah.
So, did any triggers come up as far as like, oh, this person may have this or this?
Are you trying to get a
That's
diagnosis?
you need to write a check for that one. You need to write a check
let
for
me
that
make
one.
a disclaimer right
What's your
now.
PayPal?
Let me make a disclaimer right now. Contrary to popular belief, we don't walk around diagnosing people. Because it is so much more to it than that. Because I tell you, the favorite thing, especially when I'm dating, oh, you're going to analyze me, huh? Like you're gonna analyze
That's them hoping.
X, Y, and Z.
That's them hoping.
And then and I joke and I go, oh, now I am. now I'm going to, because you brought it to my attention. But no, we don't do that because people are too complex for that. I would have to, again, know specifics. I can have an idea, right? I can have an idea, but just because, this happened to you or you struggle with this doesn't mean you have X, Y, and Z. So it's like, but being aware of like, okay, this person's a little anxious. Okay, this person struggles with depression. That's fine. That's people. That's fine. That's life. It's whatever. It's what you do when you are traumatized. That is the difference.
Got you. Makes sense. So you don't walk around just diagnosing people. Got it.
Right. Are you writing that down? I heard a notebook hit the table. Okay.
Yeah, write it down a little bit.
Ark says, yo, where can I get a lady in my life? And I think I need 24/7 on-demand access to somebody like her.
Universal healthcare.
Right.
That'd be the best way to get there.
That would be. We'll see what happens next year. So, lady, so this was a great question, because this was something that I had as a thought earlier, but like, what would be your suggestions, broadband suggestions, in regards to seeking somebody for mental health? I know you'd said something about free. I'm like, oh, where they do that at? Because that's cool. But like, where, what are the, in the different ways that other people can maybe take in therapy, what are all the tips or ideas or thoughts that you have in regards to advice on getting therapy?
Try to find a therapist you're comfortable with. So if you are, not, you're a person of color and you ideally want somebody of the same background and everything, do that. You have a right to do that, because there are certain cultural things that, only, let's say if I'm working with a Black person, that we know, right? We know history, context, knowing things like that. If you are somebody who, is of the LGBTQIA, 2S community, if you want somebody ideally who is open about that, who understands issues like that, that's fine. That's fine. You have to fit what works for you. For me, I don't care who you are, as long as you know how to do your job. Okay, that it is what it is. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of what's called transference, where you, let's say you have trauma with men and you get a male therapist. You're going to have to unpack that. You're going to have to work with that. I think sometimes what insurance will do is give you the first 1 or 2 sessions free. Really use that time. That's called like speed dating. Don't actually date your therapist. But like, speed dating in terms of trying to figure out what works for you. If it doesn't click and it doesn't work, don't do it. If you feel like something's off, it's probably off.
Yeah.
You should be walking away, at least from the first one, being like, well, let's see where that goes. And also, if we mess up, because we're people,
right?
If we get something wrong, if we say something offhand that hurts your feelings, whatever, please communicate that to us. Not only does it help us in working with you as an individual, but it also helps us as clinicians as well, because we may not have known that was something to be aware of in the way we said it, the tone that we said it. So it's important. And I think that helps with communication too. I've had clients of mine be like, really, like, it hurt my feelings when you said it that way. And then I'm able to go, oh, I'm sorry. That was not my intention. How could I have done that better for you next time? Right. And kind of, full accountability in that moment. There's no, well, I didn't mean it that way. It's not about your intention. It's about your impact. So let's stop right there. You have to understand, especially when it comes to communication, your counselor is a great place to start. In terms of like, I feel like you don't understand me. And actually this happened during my internship. I was working with a client who was Black, and obviously I'm Black, and he was dating a white woman that when she would get upset, she would call him the N-word, like the hard ER. whenever she got upset with him. And my supervisor at the time, who I was, under while I'm in school, who I'm supposed to learn from, this white man, and I said, so how do I approach that? Because I know as a person of melanin how I approach that, but from a clinician standpoint, how do I approach that? And he looked me dead in my face and went, well, I don't think that racism is really a problem anymore. And
Wow, that's crazy.
it was like my week 1 of my year-long unpaid internship, and I'm like, do I lose it now? Is this where it ends? Can I even go somewhere else? And I literally just said, it really bothers me how you've been in this field for longer than I've been alive, and working with people of my background, and that is the current stance that you have in this day and age. That bothers me, and I don't think that I can work under you if that is how you're going to continue viewing that. And he just looked at me and he was like, I don't think I've ever had somebody tell me that. I'm like, nobody's told you that?
Dang.
And he's like, well, it's just awkward to talk about, race. You're a 20-year-old Black woman. I'm a 50-year-old white guy. And I said, and that's why we need to have a conversation, especially when it comes to mental health. Because if you said that to my client, you just dismissed him completely.
Right.
You just dismissed him and his concerns. That is a verbally abusive, racist relationship. And you just disregarded it altogether.
Yeah.
And told him that his experience didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to trying to seek out a therapist that works for you, it's important to find someone that works for you. So if you were like, I don't care who you are, I just want you to do your job, that's fine. But your first, that first one, you get in a vibe, because we can project too. Not all counselors are great people. I get people in my chat when I'm streaming that tell me horror stories about counselors that they've worked with. I turn them off from therapy in general. If you get that first one, you like, I don't like this person. I don't like this. Leave. You don't have to work with that person. You're not shackled to them.
Mm-hmm.
So. I've had a couple. It was definitely a thing where I learned, like you said, it's like speed dating. You have to find out what works for you. There was one that I had because when I was pregnant, I was already aware that I was suffering from a lot of things. And I had been diagnosed by somebody about some of the things. And I was like, I know there's horror stories about postpartum. And I'm like, I don't want to be like that for my daughter. I want to be in a better or stronger mental space when she's born, because I don't want her to live in this be her mother, right? Or it be worse or anything like that. And I remember there was one that I had seen, and this woman repeatedly was like, okay, yeah, we'll end soon. We are over time. This conversation was beautiful, and it was just it was going, it was blossoming. Yeah.
For sure.
But to long story short, the lady just kept asking me if I was Baker acted. And I was like, no, I've never been Baker acted. She's like, are you sure? And I said, no, I've never been Baker acted. And then
what's that mean? I'm sorry, I missed that.
So a Baker act is when they essentially take away your rights, because when you if you someone that has been suicidal, that's mostly where it's used. They take away your rights, and then I think a lot of times they put you in a facility for a certain amount of time, and then after that, I don't know.
72 hours.
Okay. But she would ask me, because I'm talking to her about my things I've thought and things I've done and stuff like that, and she was like, are you sure you've never been Baker acted? And I was like, no, I've never been. I'm sure I've never been Baker acted, and then I remember she had deemed me, even though I it's like she wasn't listening to what I was saying. She diagnosed me as severe depression, and then because of her diagnosis, I think I lost my insurance because of that at the time, and so I had to call them to get reevaluated. Turned out she was fired because of the stuff that she was doing, and I had to get reevaluated, and then that's when it was the PTSD, severe anxiety, depression, but not severe depression, but that was definitely a horrible experience. So I was like, okay, this chick was not hearing me. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, well, this is weird. Why do you keep saying, are you sure? I mean, I was thinking that I didn't say that to her.
Right.
But yeah.
I did have one question before we go. And then Lonnie, this is for you. I'm sorry if this has been
No, it's okay. It's okay. Go for it.
How do you know if your therapist is the right therapist for you? And I don't mean in the sense, because you kind of explained it already, but in a sense that like, okay, it's going good. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And there's been progress. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But how do you know if like this is the person that I can, reach the level of depth I want to,
Mhm.
or it's going to have the right exercises or
Mhm.
homework or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
how would you know if that was the case?
If it feels easy. Now, it doesn't mean the work is easy, but it feels easy. You don't go into your sessions with that person like, oh Lord, here I go again with this lady. Like, you don't go in dreading it. That's a
Yeah.
good sign. I think that if the person doesn't challenge you or doesn't hold you accountable for what you do, I think it's a waste of your time.
When you say challenge, what do you mean? Like just
Yes.
like
Challenge
you're
in terms
to go
of,
deeper, or to be like, or
yes, yes, to actually do the work.
mm,
Because unfortunately you'll have people that will get in the field and just like milk somebody,
Mm.
unfortunately, and just milk them for their trauma and just have them come in talk about the same thing each week and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Whereas you have somebody like me where it's like, okay, all right, okay, because I understand that each time you come here, that's money. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is the root cause of the problem? Okay. What's going on? What does this person want to focus on? How can we do that? Is that person in the space to do that? And kind of having a more of a realistic take on it. I've even had conversations where somebody's come in and it's been kind of like a year of working with them and they're in the same place. And I go, okay, we at a crossroads. What we doing?
Right.
Okay. Because you tell me you want this, but then you're not open to certain things. But if this is what you want, we got to do a little bit of this.
mhm.
We have to. So sometimes it might come down to the fact that either you're just not ready to do the work yet, and that's fine because you can always come back to therapist or a dime a dozen. Therapy is always going to be there. But in terms of when you are going to see a counselor or a therapist, if you're not even receptive to, maybe understanding the way you do something needs to be done differently or could be done differently or has impacted you severely, me and you just sitting here looking at each other.
Mm.
We're
Man.
just sitting here looking at each other. I have a client that doesn't never wants to talk about the negative emotions, even though that's the whole reason they come to see me. And I'm like, okay, how's your anger been? Why you want to talk about that? Because that's why you're here. That's why you're here. And so then I say, okay, so what would you like to talk about? Well, I'm not sure. Well, then we just sitting here looking at each other.
Mm.
So what we doing? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of twiddling my thumbs. I'm here to work. I'm here to help you. But if you're not ready for it, you want to just check in and then we go, no. I want to talk to you. Okay, let's talk. What we doing?
Mhm.
How was your week? How was your weekend? Right? Give me the updates. What's the tea, sis? What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
tell me what's happening with you. If we're sitting here looking at each other, I can go do that with somebody else.
Mhm.
But why are you here? And more importantly, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you figure out this 3,000 piece puzzle. What we doing? But you also have to be ready for somebody to give you that help.
Mhm.
But if y'all just sitting there looking at each other and that person's just like doing tic-tac-toe on their, notepad, not looking at you,
Mm.
it's probably not a good fit. If they're not giving you, if you're not walking away from it going, wait a minute, right? Or even if it just felt good to get rid of that off of you, to talk about that, right?
Mm.
If you're not even utilizing for bare minimum doing that, what we doing? We're sitting here looking at each other, and they'll say like, well, how do I know I can trust you? That's not up to me to decide. But I will be here to support you, and I'm here for you. And whenever you're ready to do that, let's go. Let's do it. But it's not up to me to make you do that.
Gotcha.
And there was somebody that asked, if forgiving ourselves means moving on from anger or resentment, what does it mean to forgive others? It means they did the work and earned that from you.
I think you're talking about Miles. Let me pull up Miles. Shout out to Miles. I was trying to pull up his. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So you guys can see right there. And also shout out to. Hopefully, I'm saying this right. This is when you don't have vowels, so it makes it hard for me. So I'm gonna say it, Devonte Ricks. Just gonna have to call you that. Um, thank you so much for coming through. So you said you're a trauma therapist, and it's good to see young people, or see young, I guess, people talk about these things. I feel like this was a beautiful conversation, and I feel like there were so
Yeah.
many, like it's because it was like we had those feelings in the first in part one, where there was like some healing happening through the conversation, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like with this one, there was also some like realizations, like some of
Yeah.
the things that like were hitting our heart, especially when you find the issues that you relate with somebody on, when we're talking about
Yeah.
familiar or familial,
Familiarity.
family problems. Okay. And I wrote it down. Where is it? Blood is, hold on, where did I write it down?
But
Blood thicker than water. Oh yeah, I right here. It's murkier and dirtier too. Okay, I wrote that down. All right. I'm about to see that family and actually, let me not say nothing because they watch my stream sometimes. So
Oh, well.
I won't
We
say
love
what
you.
I
It's all
say.
good over here.
Yeah, it's all love. But no, it's because it's little things that can be very triggering, and feeling devalued or diminished and all those things. So those are things in the boundaries. I hope that everybody watching could take something away. I hope that you guys had like some moments of like realizations, maybe some moments of healing, maybe some moments of like feeling less like you're on your own with the things that you're going through. And I think that that's at the heart of it, the reason that more of conversations like these need to happen is so that people realize that they're not alone, and that there's ways to get help, and that there's other people that are going through the same thing, and these are the things that they may do. So again, I applaud you guys for being a part of this conversation. Shout out to Goofy, shout out to Amen, shout out to Lainey. Make sure you guys check out their links. They're down below in the description box. But before we close out, go ahead and we'll go backwards. We'll start from Goofy and go all the way back, and you can just say where people can find you, and if you do have something special you're working on, or something you want to shout out or what have you, then here's your chance. Goofy, take it away.
What's up, guys? I want to thank everybody for being here in this conversation. Thank the host. Thanks for Christine for putting this together. It's a beautiful conversation, a very human conversation, one that you can have in a safe environment for yourself. That being said, you can find me anywhere at Goofy Wise. I'm actually live on Twitch right now. Whoa, crazy! Wow. But yeah, I can check me out anywhere. Goofy Wise.
Awesome. And amens.
Yeah, I'm just excited. I was honored to be a part of the stream. Met some new people. Saying y'all cool. I'm gonna follow y'all as well on the socials. Thank you, Christine, for allowing me to be here as well. My name is Dragon Amens. I go by Amens, but you can find me everywhere on Dragon_Amens. So thank you for having me.
Shout out to you. And then Lainey.
Hi, I'm Lainey Love on everything. And just working on more YouTube stuff because Twitch is starting to trip.
Been tripping, still tripping.
Still tripping right now. Yeah, that's about it. It was good talking with you guys. And if you ever have questions about mental health, stop by a stream.
Yes, for sure. And I'm Christine, also Christine Games. You can check out my reaction channel. I know there's some questions. I'll update y'all in a second. I mean, not today, but I'll update y'all. I got some questions about the latest changes on the channels. I will be at VidCon. The end of this month, I'll be at VidCon. There's going to be a few things that I'll be doing while I'm out there. So if you see me while you're out there at VidCon, definitely say hi, take a picture, say what up. My California peeps. I know California is a large state, but let me know. We could hang out. Okay. And that was to creators, not to you guys, but I still love you. I'll see y'all at the convention. And then also,
they'll pull up. You said we can hang out. I got the clip right here. I got the clip right here. You said they'll keep right on content.
Yeah, they're like right at the an hour, 2.5 hours in, or 2 hours 13 minutes. This is what you said. But yes, thanks again to you guys, for coming here, and not even just because it's one thing to say, yeah, I'll do it and show up, but you guys actually like opened up, and you guys were vulnerable and shared your experiences and shared your information, and I am very grateful. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Oh, Pride Chat podcast. Make sure you check it out. Monday and also Sunday because there's the Xbox showcase. So got you. All right. And deuces.
Thank you,
We're still
Christine.